I don't know.
We'll go ahead and call the Escada Planning Commission meeting to order. Can we get a roll call?
Here.
Here.
Commissioner Fox,
Here.
Commissioner Bartley,
Here.
and Harris should be online, but I don't see her yet.
Okay.
And Carpenter is out.
Didn't hear a thing, sorry.
All right. Looks like we got a quorum, so we should be good to go on all this Planning Commission business today. So first thing we have is the approval of the March 20th, 2024 meeting minutes. I believe everybody has those in their packet. We need a motion and a second. Make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from March 20th. We have that motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion needed? All right, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Perfect, motion carries. Those are approved. Commission business here, we got a couple things that are relatively new. The first thing is Committee 101 State Ethics Requirements.
That is
Alan?
me.
Oh, you're gonna help.
That is me. Yeah. So you guys, we did this last year. So this is the second year doing this, and I'm going to give Evelyn a second to open up the PowerPoint.
There we go. That's why it's in here.
Okay, go ahead next. So the city council is the legislative and policy making body. They are the ones who have the final authority for most decisions. You cannot expend funds or obligate the city for payment. And you should elect a chair and vice chair from your membership at the first meeting of the new term, which is this meeting. So you guys will do that after this. Okay, next. The Planning Commission is a statutory body. You have powers and duties assigned by the charter, ordinances, resolutions of the city, and the Oregon revised statutes. Next. Some general expectations: read the packet prior to the meeting, arrive on time. If you're going to be absent, notify staff. And if you no longer have the capacity to serve, then you will resign to allow somebody else to serve. Next. This is our suggested annual timeline. In January, it's a great idea to sit down and talk about any projects you might want to address in the coming year. I know you guys don't necessarily set projects like some of the other committees do, but such as the parks that you're looking at addressing this year. So January is a good time to sit down and look at addressing projects. And then in March, you will review any applicants for any vacancies that are on your board, if you had any. In April, you will receive this training. And then in November or December, it's a great idea to do kind of a year-end review and see if there's anything that you missed or did not address in the past year that you wanted to, and move it forward. Next. General roles and responsibilities. You shall elect a chair and a vice chair at your first meeting. The chair presides over the meeting and is responsible for communication with city staff and the council. The chair works with the staff prior to the meeting to determine agendas. They help keep the committee on track, completing their goals and projects for the year. And you run the meeting, keeping it on agenda and managing interactions with the public. And if the chair is absent, the vice chair takes over these duties. Next. Your committee is supported by the planning staff. You can contact them at the planning@cityofestacada.org email. They're responsible for AV equipment, helping create and post the meeting agenda and packet. They do extensive research for each agenda item and present to you relevant information. It's their job to follow state laws and city codes related to each agenda item. And any other specific tasks would be assigned by their supervisor, and only available as budget and capacity is available. So all committees and commissions are considered public bodies under Oregon law, and as a result must comply with open meeting laws. So notice must be provided for all meetings. Meetings must be open to the public and include a virtual option for attendance, and minutes must be created for each meeting. Next. A quorum is a majority of members. And a meeting is defined as any time there is a quorum of members who deliberate on board issues. This is true even in social settings, over email, over text, on Facebook. So you need to be careful when you are discussing anything that might come before the board with any other member of this board. If you do not have a quorum for a scheduled meeting, the meeting will have to be rescheduled. And if you have work groups such as for the parks, it's a good idea to not have a quorum of those and draw in other volunteers to do the research and then come back and present to the board. All public meetings should have at least 72 hours notice. I cannot imagine where you would have an emergency meeting for the planning commission. But for emergencies, you can have less than that. Our meetings are broadcast via Zoom and are recorded for a later viewing. And again, careful with emails and communications because that could also be considered a public meeting if you have a quorum of members discussing any board issues. Public records, any writing in any form which is related to the business of the board is considered a public record. This includes emails, social media, and text messages, even if it is on your personal device. Also includes letters. So you guys might receive actual snail mail letters. Ethics. So committee members are considered public officials and have to follow state ethic laws. This prohibits you from gaining financially or preventing a financial loss as a result of your position. And this includes not just you, but you, your family members, or your business that you are affiliated with. So if you have anything that would result in a real or potential financial gain or loss, you must declare a conflict of interest. And this also applies to ex parte contact. So go next. So ex parte contact is any communications prior to the public meeting that are about the subject of the public meeting. So if anybody talked to you about something that's going to be on your agenda, you need to declare ex parte contact. That does not mean you have to recuse yourself from discussing, but you do have to declare that you had the ex parte contact. And sometimes bias can be as a result of some of this ex parte contact. So you need to be unbiased. This can look like, bias can look like the house your best friend grew up in, and it's going to be torn down to build a new development. And that could have an emotional connection, and you could be biased about that. If you are unable to be unbiased about the decision, you will need to recuse yourself from both the discussion and the vote. Next. Conflict of interest. So you can have a potential conflict or an actual conflict. A potential conflict is something that could be a financial benefit or financial harm to yourself, your family, your business, or family members' businesses. So in this case, you would have to announce it publicly before discussion, but you can still participate in the discussion, debate, and vote. So an example, you own a property next to a project application. Your property is not for sale and you're not planning on developing it. However, potentially that development going next to your property could impact your property values. And in that case, you would need to declare a potential conflict. An actual conflict is if you will have a financial benefit or financial harm. So in that same case, you own the property and it's for sale next to a potential development. And in that case, you will have to recuse yourself from any discussion or voting. Next. Just remember you're appointed to this position to represent the public at large. Keep this in mind. Each member brings a very important point of view, and many points of view create good policy. Next. You have before you a code of conduct, which we need signed and returned before the end of the meeting today. I like to say this is kind of the rules you learned in kindergarten. Be respectful, act with decorum, don't attack anybody, welcome people with kindness and respect, don't speak over each other. And then also, because the Planning Commission has special rules, you have included the Oregon Planning Commissioner Handbook. And I know that will take you a bit longer to read than the Code of Conduct. So I want you to take that home, read through it, and on the back page of that is a signature page. So once you've read through it at your next meeting, bring back your signature page and to show that you've read the handbook and you accept the information in it. And that is the end of my presentation. Do you have any questions?
Any questions? Any questions? Straightforward enough? Terry, you have any questions?
Sorry, it always takes a second to unmute. Nope, all makes sense.
Okay, perfect.
Fantastic.
Thank you. All right, moving on to public hearings here. First one we have seen the title before, subdivision
You
2020.
appoint your chair and vice chair.
Oh, gosh, I was trying to skip that. Not really. I just wanted to get this moving along. So we need to appoint a chair and a vice chair.
Mr. Chair. I appoint Scott as the chair and Richard. This Richard, as the chair. This is
Vice chair?
vice chair.
So we got to not,
I don't know what those are.
you want us to nominate one first and then vote and then,
Yeah, that's probably the easiest to do one and then the other.
okay.
Okay, I don't know.
All right, so we have a nomination on the floor for Scott as chairman. Any other nominations?
I would like to nominate Ben. Just
Thank you.
for some continuity, sorry.
So we have two nominations on the floor. Any other nominations?
Did you not deny yourself?
Do I have to deny myself?
No, you did last week, didn't you?
No,
Okay.
nope.
I just thought you may want to get out, move over. or-
I'm okay either way.
Okay,
So do we want to vote? How do we normally do this? Normally it's one or the other. But, well, let's go through this. Scott, do you accept the nomination?
No.
Okay.
there you go. Looks like you got it back now.
Oh, jeez Louise.
Yes.
All right. Well, that leaves me. And I will accept the nomination for one more year. So all those in favor, I guess, raise your right hand. I can't vote for myself, so I think we got 4, and then Tara, I assume since you nominated, you're voting?
Yes, sorry, yes.
Okay. Well, thank you, guys and gals. Let's do vice chair next. Any nominations for vice chair? Mr. Stahl, you're back on the board. Do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Okay. Any further nominations for vice chair? Okay, keeping this really simple then. All those in favor of Mr. Stahl, raise your right hand.
Can't vote for myself.
Yes.
Okay, we have a new chair and, well, old chair, new chair, and a new vice chair. So, perfect. Moving forward, we'll do this for the next year.
Thank you.
And we need to probably get a new nameplate for this guy. Oh, no, just, you're still Tom. Okay.
You. I'm still Tom.
All right. All right, let's get down to business then. Subdivision 2023-05-S, the Kellendonk acres, not anchors. The applicant Alan Rademacher. Proposing a 78 lot residential subdivision of 9.83 acres of land described as tax lot 34E, section 17, tax lot 2000. Without any further ado, I think we saw this on our application last time around and it got pulled. at the
Yes,
last minute.
that's right. It was, yeah, the applicant decided to continue it to work out some kinks.
Excellent.
Yep.
Well, let's hand it over to you, Alan, and you can
All
go
right.
through the staff report and give us the rundown, and then we can, for those of you that are new to the planning commission, I guess now's a good opportunity to do a little explanation of how this will work. We will go through the staff report, gives us an opportunity to ask some questions prior to opening it up to the actual public hearing. At that point, we close down the official planning commission meeting for a moment. I read a procedure, a bunch of language, and then we will open it up for applicants. Anybody opposing, or anybody for or opposing the application to come speak at the mic. When you do so, please introduce yourself, and your address. And then, we'll give you a few minutes, if necessary, to talk about it. From there, we'll, once everybody's done speaking, for or against, or just to come up to speak, we can enter back into the official planning commission meeting, and we will take a vote because that has to take place out of the public meeting and in the planning commission meeting. So we will do that for each application. I'll read the statement of evidence once, unless we get a new flood of people coming in, and then I'll read it twice or more. So let's do this. Go ahead.
All right. First of three applications today. Okay. So the first is 2023-05-S, the Calendonk Acres subdivision. And just some background information. So Alan Rademacher, who's in the audience right now, is the applicant. The consultant team is from AKS Engineering. And let's see, and the proposal has been kind of outlined. It's a residential subdivision at that address, 30941 Southeast River Mill Road. It's a 9.83 acre site. It's 78 residential lots. 76 of them are 2-unit common wall dwellings, and two of the lots are set aside for single-family detached homes. And it is triple zoned, so it has North City residential, highway commercial, and central mixed-use zoning. And here is an aerial view of the subject site. And I just want to note that the property line there that's showing on the map has been changed, or it is in the process of being changed right now. So it basically, that yellow line has been moved to the western, that kind of disconnect, or that jagged line right there. And that is the current, or the lot to be, the red outline. Zoom in out. This is our comp plan map, just to give you kind of a idea of where in the city it sits. Let's see. A little bit more in there. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. This is the preliminary plan here. We got 78 lots, 4 new internal roads, and those are to be built to local street standards. Yes, and then as I said, it's triple zoned. So we have 40 residential lots in CMU, and that, the zone, this blue zone down there. All of those are designed to accommodate 2-unit common wall dwellings. And then looking up to the North City residential zone, there's 38 residential lots there. 36 of them are for 2-unit common wall dwellings, while 2 of them, the 2 outlined in red, are designated for single-family detached. And there are no residential lots in the highway commercial zone on the west there. So for the North City residential and the CMU zones, the minimum lot size for common wall dwellings is 2,500 square feet per dwelling, and all the common wall lots are at least that size, at least 2,500 square feet. In the North City residential zone, the minimum lot size for single family homes is 5,000 square feet per dwelling unit, and the 2 lots meet that minimum lot size standard as well. So both standards are met. And here's a picture of the submitted open space plan, so you can kind of see where the parks and open space tracts would be located. The circle tract there, that would be the stormwater facility tract. And then here is a large open space tract. And then there are 3 small open space tracts kind of scattered throughout the development. Okay, and as for water service, so to secure water service, the applicant has proposed to connect to the existing 12-inch low-pressure water main that's located about 2,000 feet south of the subject site on Eagle Creek Road, just north of Hillway, very close to the northeast corner of Campanella Estates. And so zooming into the development again, so you can see on and adjacent to this, the subject site, water will be provided. And this is the recommended change to this, and this is recommended by Kurt McLeod, our city engineer. And he recommends that the water line extend to the west property line along Southeast River Mill Road. And if not able to be constructed all the way to be addressed by a fee in lieu. And here's the sewer that was proposed. The sewer system would connect to the existing sewer manhole located under Southeast River Mill Road. Right there, there's like kind of a darker yellow circle there. It's about 630 feet west of Eagle Creek Road, and that's, it's near the outlet of the proposed road, Road A and River Mill Road. And there's a recommended change, again, by the city engineer, who recommends that the sewer line should extend from Road D to the north property line along Eagle Creek Road. So if you can see up here, where my cursor is over there. And both of these water and sewer recommendations are captured in the conditions of approval. Okay, on to the stormwater. So on-site stormwater will be routed to the stormwater facility on the west, tract A. And then redirected west, the stormwater will collect there and then be redirected to an off-site discharge point on tax lot 2100, which is owned by the applicant. And I'll talk a little bit about the street system. These are the interior streets. And they are proposed to be built to local street standards. That would be roads A through D. So those 4 new interior streets. 35-foot paved surface, 5-foot raised curb tight sidewalks within 48-foot right of way. Also on-street parking is proposed to be allowed on only one side of the local streets unless parking on both sides is approved by the city engineer. There is one private street, one very short private street, tract F, on the kind of the far, I guess, the southeast corner of the site. That's proposed to be a 23.5-foot paved section with 5-foot curb tight sidewalk on the north side. Okay. Oh, and there's no parking on that street as well. And I'll talk a little bit about Southeast Eagle Creek Road. Let's see. So this is the design standard for Eagle Creek Road from the TSP that was just adopted. We have a 5-foot sidewalk, 5-foot landscape strip, 6-foot bike lane with a 2-foot buffer, and then 12-foot drive lanes. And this is the proposed plan. So looking north on Eagle Creek Road, this is what is proposed to be built. It's very similar to the TSP standard. It does propose a wider bike lane and landscape strip, and the city is fine with this design. Oh, yeah, there you go. That's the landscape strip and the wider bike lane. There's an existing TriMet bus stop on the corner of the site. And when the new bus stop is built, it must be built to TriMet standards, which have been included in the exhibits. And now I will move on to talking about Southeast River Mill. So when Eagle Creek Road was taken over by the city, it used to be under county jurisdiction, and the city assumed jurisdictional authority last year. A portion of River Mill was also granted to the city at that time. So it's about 264 feet of River Mill, as you can see, is now under city jurisdiction. So the applicant is required to build half-street improvements along River Mill, just like in Eagle Creek Road. But they must meet city road standards in the city-owned portion and county standards in the county-owned portion. So here are the city standards for River Mill. And this is also from the new TSP that was just adopted. It's really similar to the Eagle Creek standard, except that the bike lane and buffer are slightly different widths. And so the proposed improvements on River Mill, also similar to the transportation system plan standard, But they propose wider bike lane and landscape strip widths and a narrower buffer strip. And the city is fine with the wider landscape strip, but we're recommending a requirement that the applicant build a bike lane in the buffer to TSP standards. So that would be a 5-foot bike lane and a 3-foot buffer. It's a very slight change. The county has signed off on the design of these street improvements, so hopefully the entire length of the street can be built consistently along the length of the frontage with Rivermill. And now to talk briefly about the issues that have come up with this development proposal with Clackamas County, specifically about Rivermill. So Clackamas County is requiring that improvements in their right of way be built to standards for a 55-mile-per-hour street. So that would require substantial grading and restructuring of the street. But because of the topography of the area and existing sewer line in Rivermill Road, the applicant and the city agreed that building to a 30-mile-per-hour standard makes the most sense. There's also an issue with Clackamas County and the site distance requirement for the intersection with Rivermill and Road A. However, the city is able to process this application while the issues with the county are resolved. The conditions of approval have been written to allow for city standards to be met while allowing for flexibility with the county and while these issues are addressed. And I imagine the applicant team might have some more to say about that. And also please ask us questions if you have any. So staff recommendation, staff finds that the modification, staff finds that the proposal to subdivide this tax lot into 78 residential lots can meet all the applicable criteria, and we therefore recommend approval of this application. And like I said, I think the applicant team might, I have more to say about the conditions as well, but we'll go over some of those. So public improvements will be provided, streets, sidewalks, bike lanes, etc. in the city right of way will be built to city standards. Stormwater will be managed as shown. As shown, the sewer and water service will be extended north and west. Construction impacts will be mitigated by the requiring of the plans and reports listed. And fire code will be met, and the county conditions were left unspecified in the conditions of approval for the time being, as those are determined and resolved. Okay, so next steps is public comment. Any planning commission questions, discussion about it, and then motion to recommend approval with changes or denial of findings. Hand it back to you.
Planning commission, any questions out of the gate? Yeah. One question I had was on the bike lanes and the buffers. I think in the TSP, it shows the flexible barriers. Are we mandating that, or is it?
Those guys?
Yeah.
I believe they are, yeah.
Oh, it's optional,
included.
flexible
Oh,
delineator.
option, there it is. It says
Okay,
optional.
I guess I should read further.
Well, I guess
so.
I should have too, yeah.
But the biggest thing is just the 3 and the 5 feet,
Yeah,
not
the
the 2 and the
widths.
6.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And let's see if the delineators are on here. Eagle Creek does not have them.
Okay. All right. Any other questions at this point? Terry, you have any questions?
Nope, sorry.
All right, let's do this then, with the staff report. We'll close down the planning commission meeting and I will open the public hearing. And I am going to read my statement. Statement about evidence presented at the hearing. An issue which may be the basis for appeal to the city council must be raised prior to the close of the record at the final evidentiary hearing on the specific application. Such issues shall be raised with sufficient specificity as to afford the city council and other parties an adequate opportunity to respond to each issue. failure of an issue to be raised at the hearing in person or by letter, or failure to provide sufficient specificity to afford the city council and all parties an adequate opportunity to respond to the issue precludes an appeal to the city council on that issue. So with that, can we have the applicant, if they would like, and or the engineer or the point person? All right, step on up, introduce yourself and give us your rundown.
You need to use.
Would
the
you mind
microphone.
grabbing that? I think the button's on the very bottom, isn't it? Oops, different mic. There you go.
There we go. My name is Jackie Herb and I'm with AKS Engineering and Forestry. Our address is 12965 Southwest Herman Road, Suite 100 in Tualatin, Oregon, 97062. I am here today on behalf of the applicant, Alan Rademacher. I wanted to thank the Planning Commission members for your time this afternoon to hear about our project. And also thank Alan for his work on this project and presentation and recommendation for approval. AKS prepared the land use application for the Kellendonk subdivision. We have a short graphic presentation we wanted to share with the Planning Commission. And I'll keep it brief so as not to provide a lot of overlap and duplication from what Alan did. Next slide. With me today is the applicant, Alan Rademacher, Todd Mobley with Lancaster Mobley, who did the transportation engineering for the project. And then Steve Roper is also with me with AK Engineering, who did the engineering on the project. Next slide. As you know, the project is located at the northwest intersection of Southeast River Mill Road and Southeast Eagle Creek Road. And the section that has the planned residential homes is zoned CMU and NCR. Next slide. Some of the elements of this project is that the 78 lot residential subdivision also includes a 1.15 acres of voluntary open space. The majority of the site's existing trees will be retained in one of the larger open space tracts. The project also includes the required frontage improvements and right-of-way dedication. And as Alan said, this project will include the extension of off-site water improvement from the south to provide water service for the project. And then all the necessary infrastructure improvements to provide sanitary sewer, water, stormwater for all the lots will also be included in this project. Next slide. As Alan said, the 78 lot project includes 2 lots that are intended for single family attached homes, and then the others will be paired single family common wall dwellings. And there was both of these uses are noted as permitted uses within these zones. And then the minimum lot sizes for common wall dwellings is 2,500 square feet, which all the lots meet, and the detached are 5,000. Both of those are over 5,000 square feet. And then finally, density for this project has a minimum density of 65 lots. Maximum permitted is 97, and the project is somewhere in the middle at 78. And I did want to address, there was a public comment that was provided in the packet from somebody who expressed desire to ensure that the properties within the CMU zone include a portion, at least a portion of it includes a commercial element. The city's development code doesn't require properties in that zone to have a minimum commercial element. And as I said previously, the detached and attached homes are both permitted uses in this zone. And then next slide, we will be happy to answer any questions that you might have for the team.
Any questions?
Are we gonna hear from Alan or anybody else from your group?
We can.
Well, she'll do just as good. And here's my next spiel. She didn't hit me in the ribs yet. I had ex parte contact over a month ago with Alan when we first got the information on this, and so I wanted to declare that upfront and proper.
Okay.
And, this property has approximately 150 or more new families coming to our area as I'm reading this. I had three thoughts here. Does this taken in on Southeast Eagle Creek Road and River Mill? Does this hit the margin where they should do one more offsite, like put in a 4-way stoplight at the intersection? It's already a congested issue.
Are you talking about at River Mill and Eagle Creek?
Yep, I mean, a portion of this is going to impact that greatly.
Well,
And we have other properties that will come in to line as well. However, how long do we wait before somebody's gonna smack and hit without having the proper 4-way?
well, I think that
That's-
intersection's identified as one of the immediate needs that's being fixed.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, we have,
Nothing was
there's a plan.
mentioned in their proposal.
Because it's not dependent upon this developer to do that.
Well, this is why I'm saying it might be a time to get with the program to get it started. I mean, we've
It
had
is-
projects for 30 years that never got off the ground.
So at the last city council meeting, the city council looked at that specific intersection and decided that they were going to do a roundabout as was suggested in the TSP. And then our engineering team is working on engineering that and getting the necessary easements from the property owners. So the first step is getting the easements.
Planning, yeah, go ahead. Who decided that?
Who decided? The city council.
On a state highway?
It's not a state highway. It's
It's in
Not-
city
not-
jurisdiction.
at River Mill, Eagle Creek. Yeah. Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, you see where I'm going
Um,
with this. All right.
Sorry,
That's-
can I ask, was there anything in the meeting about the highway intersection, River Mill and 224?
No.
Okay, because that's also identified as, I believe, an E grade in this packet. That intersection.
Actually, Terry, yeah, I can speak a little bit to that. So when the Lock Martin Industrial subdivision went in last year, the city committed to working with ODOT to do a traffic study on that intersection specifically to see what kind of traffic mitigation is warranted there and how the city should move forward. But that's on the city's list of things to do in the next couple of years.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I remembered that it was on that it came up in the TSP discussions and everything, but I just wasn't sure, like, if there was, it sounds like from her update that other one is in process, like,
Yes.
very actively, so I just wasn't sure if there was
Exactly. Mhm.
anything brewing for that road, which is definitely, that intersection is already not great.
Richard,
That
you want to go
sounds-
on with your other two?
Sure. Question 2, has this development got any kind of an HOA contact to it?
Yeah, there's those open space tracks and the private street, so it will need to have an HOA to do the maintenance of those.
So that's a yes.
Yes.
Thank you. And let's see, what was the other one that came up? I love jotting down notes and then they look like somebody's turkey has been playing with my paper. I heard you say that for the first time in my life, a low pressure water line of 12 inches. Did you? Okay.
The 12-inch water main that's in Old Eagle Creek Highway
What,
or Eagle Creek Road?
my question is, what is considered low pressure?
I think that was in Alan's report.
Yeah, I might have
Maybe.
said that. That is, that's something that was written by the engineer. And I'm not an engineer, so I don't know.
Not either.
I'm just reporting back what they said.
I'm gonna ask
Okay.
Steve Roper to address that question for you.
I've never heard that phrase, as a matter of fact. You'd think I would have.
Well, low pressure is the zone that you guys designate as
this lower zone. So it's not a low pressure, it's still in, 74 plus pounds. It's just Estacada has a low pressure water zone, and then up higher on the hill is intermediate. And then furthest up the hill is a high pressure zone. So that's how the water master plan addresses which zone you're in for. So it's this reservoir elevations is what it is.
Okay, I'll finish my question. Thank you for that. This is kind of, I would think after 29 years, I would have heard this particular. When we added the Moss Hill Reservoir up there many years ago, we only had 22 pounds of pressure on Ginseng Drive. And when they hooked it up, it blew a whole bunch of water pipes right out of the walls. Unfortunately, it was done on a Friday afternoon, and we had a whole bunch of homeowners that were a little upset. They loved having more water pressure. They just weren't at home to check what was leaking throughout their houses. That water pressure went to 120 pounds from 22 pounds. And so if you've got a system that's used to 1 poundage, and so I wondered, the higher your water tower is, the more pressure you have on the lower end, unless you have a pressure reducing valve somewhere. Am I on the wrong track?
No, you're on the correct track because the reservoir, and I'm not sure if it's Moss Hill, but the one that feeds this area comes down off, what is it? Down off of Lawrence and whatever. Anyway, there's 2 PRVs by the time it gets here.
What's a PRV?
Pressure reducing valve.
Okay, thank you.
And so there's a PRV for each zone wherever you hit. So if you were to use that reservoir up there and not have any PRV, by the time you get to Kellendunk, you'd be 220 pounds.
Now you've explained something I've kind of wondered about. All I ever knew was that for every 2 pounds or 2 feet of fall, you had 1 pound of pressure. And if it's 700 feet above us, that's a lot of pressure.
Yes.
Okay.
All right,
So anyway, that's the
Thank you.
answer to that question.
you good?
Mhm.
Okay, I have a question on parking, and then obviously this looks like it's getting set up for duplexes, common wall.
Yeah,
have-
okay, so I actually did want to address that from a comment that Commissioner Hartwick made. This proposal is for 78 residential lots. And 1 single family dwelling is proposed for each one. It's not duplexes on each one. So it's not 150 something. It would be 78 dwellings in the whole development.
Yep.
Why the mention of a common wall?
The
Is that
common
kind of
wall
set
is
back
on
on one
the,
side?
it would be on the property line. So it'd basically be like,
You'd have two lots that have a common wall between the 2 properties.
Yeah, so
Yes.
rather than have a 5-foot setback
That
between,
has never been brought to my attention.
okay,
Thank you.
yes. Yeah, so it's not 2 lots or two
Two
dwellings
dwellings on
crammed
each
on a lot.
property.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
It's kind of like the brownstone thing,
something, exactly.
Yeah, like.
Two-unit townhouse is basically what it
We
is.
didn't get a picture.
Yeah. So
okay.
Thank you.
So a question on that, what is the off-street requirement? Is it two per lot?
I believe so, yeah, 2 per lot.
So could we bring up the map that shows like the actual lot size? I think it's 30, most of them are 30 by 100.
Let me share again. Oh, it's
50 by 100. 30. So
5,000 square feet.
Let me zoom.
no, they're 2,500 is the requirement, and most of those are at 3,000. So my only question is if we have parking on one side delineated and we have common wall, I assume it's gonna be a 5-foot setback. So you could have up to 25 foot of building. And in the city code, we're allowing 12-foot minimum for a driveway. plus your 5-foot ADA wings, if things haven't changed too much since I've done one. So you're at 22 feet, which leaves 8 feet of standard height curb for parking. Essentially for each lot. Half on each side of that.
Right, 4 and 4.
So
Curbing 14 feet, yeah. I get it.
I'm guessing, unless everybody's driving smart cars, which I don't know that,
I get what you're saying.
that half street or one side of the street parking is essentially gone. Otherwise, we're gonna have a bunch of neighbors that are ticked off that somebody's always parked in their apron.
Yeah, I see what you're getting at with these narrow lots. Yes, so basically for this standard, we defer to what the county engineer, or I'm sorry, what the city engineer and the applicant are able to work out. And that is captured in the conditions, but yes, I hear what you're saying.
Can we speak to how many, is it two? I mean, I assume that there's gonna be either a garage or a carport on each one of these buildings.
That's correct.
In-
Setbacks are, 20 feet
Yep.
setback, so that provides for the driveway that
Yep.
can accommodate one of the parking spaces, and, they'll of course group the driveways together to try to maximize, I guess, the space in between. We also designed, the plans that we provided, had a rolled curb.
Okay.
Instead of, the standard curb. And I know it's something we probably need to continue to work out with the city engineer, and if there's conditions to provide for that, but that allows for people to park up on a portion of the rolled curb to provide, for additional street parking, I guess.
Well, and the only reason I bring it up is because as a planning commission, we get hammered for 2 reasons: lack of parking, and there's no way that the sewer treatment plant is ever gonna accommodate 78 lots, and we get this repeatedly. And so it's just kind of providing tools in our tool belt to say it's been thought through, or no, it's gonna be a parking zoo and everybody's gonna be limited to two spots and no guests.
I've been working with your city engineer, so your guys, the city code is that in order to have parking on both sides of the street, you gotta have 36 feet. Okay, when I set this up, I had it at, normal curb. But when I went to mountable, the mountable curb ends up being 1 foot wide. So for the slope part, so when you drive in your driveway, you don't drag your car. But that took up half of my, so I went from 36 feet to now 35 feet if you exclude the mountable part, which you can park on. So if you want to count the part that you can park on, if you were to park on the curb, you're really 37 feet. And we went around and around on being able to park on both sides of the street because I really thought that having these small lots, you should be able to park on both sides.
And this is the first time we've dabbled in any multifamily other than the most recent apartment complex. So that has, delineated parking spots. And so most of the time we're doing single family stuff. And so I would hopefully we can lean on the engineer and the applicant to.
Are these curbs something that are allowed in the city code?
Far as I know, yes.
Because that puts us at a different point. It doesn't match anything else in the city. I don't believe.
Well, it's
It's not consistent.
Really, what it really boils down to, guys, is you've got 1 extra car for every 2 buildings. Think about it. You get 1 extra car for every 2 buildings. Park. Yeah. That's it.
Okay.
Think about it, because you've got 8 feet and 8
Somebody
feet.
Drives a 4-wheel drive truck.
Well, you're gonna be in somebody's driveway then.
Okay. Any other questions for the engineer or AKS at large? Okay. Mr. Rademacher, would you like to come speak, or do you have anything to add if you want?
I've been warned to be brief.
We all know that's a lie.
Uh, Thank you, everybody, for your consideration today. A little bit of history. I like to think I've been here long enough that I'm local. My parents brought my brother and I out here fishing in the 50s, which was almost 3/4 of a century ago. In 1980, I plunked what little money I had down on Estacada Bark property and bought that 12 acres. What I've done with that 12 acres has brought us to this project. So that's pretty much my story. And again, I thank you for your consideration.
Thanks, Alan. Anybody else like to join us and speak on behalf of the application? Would anybody like to get up and speak against the application?
We also have someone online that might want to speak.
While we're queuing them up, but if there's anybody that just wants to come up and speak about the application, not for or against, they're more than welcome to. Okay, it doesn't look like anybody's lighting up online, so planning commission, any further questions for the applicant or engineers at this point in time?
I had one thought. This is about the water line again, coming back to it. Is that water line adequate for what future development is happening in that area?
I would assume so. I mean, it was specifically, the recommended change to the proposal was, it was recommended by the city engineer, who is always looking out for that, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just, and the other thing I just thought about too, I think I was wrong in my estimate of one parking lot, one extra parking car for every 2 units. I think it's one for every 4. Because if it's only one side of the street. I went, oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's do this. Let's go ahead and we're gonna shut down the public hearing and we will enter back into the planning commission meeting at 2:52. And at this point in time, we have the obligation to make a motion to approve as the staff has provided, approve with more conditions that we would like to add or deny. Excuse me. And as we consider this is something that goes on to the plan or the city council.
Yes.
And they will have a second look at it, a second reading. At a time that's probably already figured out. But it depends on our recommendation on just when that is. So
I think it's May 13th.
May 13th. So there's our options. We need a motion, a second, and then we can discuss in depth if we need to, or not at all. Don't everybody jump at once.
I had one more question for,
Okay,
but I don't know that we can discuss it since we're back out of the public hearing.
here's a question for.
Well, it's just a general question. I see no place on this plan for off-street parking of utility trailers or whatever for any of the residents there.
That's the new mini storage down in Veterans Way. Right across the street. And I am not being sponsored by them.
That's good. You see what I'm talking about? When I look at something, it's not a whole package deal. It's kind of a tunnel vision of this, but it's left out a few. I'm not gonna say they're all minor or major, but you know, I don't see any consistency. Maybe that's not the right word.
Sounds like something I said.
You know, I'm looking at kids pets, parks, playgrounds for an area that has nothing.
Well, if you want
An
to,
open space isn't a play area for a lot of little kids.
if you want to dig deeper in this, go ahead and well, I'm accepting motions.
I'm just throwing that out there because it wasn't mentioned in any part of this. But you brought up that parking thing and I said, well, there's one more thing that we didn't get a forward giz on it.
Well, one thing we need to remember is that this is being built to the city code that we've adopted and the plans that we have in place, whether it's the TSP, the parks,
Is it the smartest plan we can come up with?
I don't think that's something that we get the
We
option to
don't get
weigh.
the option to do it.
No, you make your decision based on the code and the plans that have already been adopted, whether you like them or not, that's another discussion.
Sure. Nope, I agree.
Another one of these lawfare things.
Tara, you have any motions?
I want someone else to make the motion.
Can I also add that there are open spaces here? There's a pretty sizable. Oh, here, wait.
Me
Um,
too.
There's a large open space area on the west end, and then there's three kind of mini parks kind of scattered through. So there's not no open space in this.
I
development.
grew up on that property, so I'm very aware of what we're talking about for open space and
Gotcha, yeah.
hillside.
Just talking about the actual design, the layout.
Okay.
Is there a fourth option to table this, or is that not a non-option?
What's the timeline look like, Alan?
We're running up on a pretty tight timeline. When did you agree to continue it to? Is it July? I'll have to look.
And one other thing, is we can put a motion and a second up in order for us to further discuss. We just can't really dive too much in the discussion until we get to that point.
Hmm.
And that motion and second could always be voted down
Sure.
or up. So.
So what you're saying is that Richard, if we go no on the account that we want to sit down and talk to him more, is that what you're saying, or are you saying we can't talk about it at all?
Well, technically, we save the discussion until after the motion's made. So. Am I doing my parliamentary procedures correctly?
Yes.
Finally.
The one thought I have.
Okay, I'm gonna try this one, but don't get me wrong, I'm not for it all the way. I'm going to reject this. On account that we can sit back and answer questions like the Lake Shore and the Lake Shore, when that's up down there, River Mill and Main Highway.
All right, so
That's definitely a problem,
all right, so
okay? Going down,
hang on just a sec. So you're recommending the application denial, right?
yes, denying.
All right, so let's just leave it at number 3. We're recommending an application denial. We have a denial. We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
If I could just butt in really quick, if you are recommending denial, you have to make findings that one or more of the approval criteria are unable to be met. So you'd have to point to some code that
Okay,
says,
talk to you afterwards.
well, no, you would have to present that as, you'd
Part
have
of
to
the
present
motion.
code that is not being met.
It's just the way it's gonna go.
That's why
For
we-
information.
we now,
Exactly.
But nobody else is going, then
I think it needs more discussion, really.
Not
I don't
necessarily
think
today.
we're not all on the same page.
So with his motion on the floor, we could get a second, and then that can be voted down at that point in time. We need grounds to make the motion of
Yeah,
denial.
he either needs to make grounds to
It
make the
came back
motion,
for a lack of a second.
or he can remove the motion. So you either need to give a reason for the denial that is related to the approval criteria being unable to be met, or you would remove that motion.
Oh,
All right, so
okay,
Is
so.
that curb one of those
This is
rollover curbs
basically-
allowable?
This is
in the state?
basically what,
I don't
is
know.
what this paper says, it's going to go through, so I pull my.
Motion.
Your motion?
Okay.
Okay.
So I have nothing on there.
Okay.
So we're back to square one.
Teach me what we.
Can I
do.
ask Alan a question?
Absolutely.
Alan?
Mhm.
What I want to know is, are those curbs allowed in the city code?
I would say we don't deal with the building code. We deal with the development code, which I know it sounds like, what's the difference? But the actual building, like the number of inches that the curb needs to be and that kind of thing. I don't know for sure, but I do know that the city engineer has signed off on this. And I do believe that if there was any issue with any of the design elements, that they would have been called out already.
So per the municipal code 12.08.120, the materials and methods of construction of curbs and sidewalks shall be set by the Public Works Director and shall meet or exceed the industry standard applicable to such materials and methods of construction. The specification of curbs and sidewalks may be obtained by the Public Works Office.
Yeah, you guys, that is not in the development code. You cannot use that as approval or denial criteria for this application.
Really?
Okay, here it comes,
Yes.
guys.
It is not in the development code. You
We're
cannot
gonna-
use development code as approval or denial for this application. You can
That's-
table it if we have enough time in the timeline, but I don't know.
So the applicant has authorized the extension of the normal 120-day approval period to June 14th. So if we tabled it and this comes back in May, I don't know what day in May Planning Commission is. I believe it's the 20, maybe the 20th. Let me look at the calendar.
You guys would have to schedule another meeting in order to meet that deadline, because then it also has to go before council. So you would have to schedule probably a May 1st or May 8th.
It could, yeah, I'm looking at May 15th and then it could go to council. So that gives a month that it would be that before it could go to council.
So
Yes,
So ostensibly, it could be continued if you have
Yeah, you-
grounds for continuance.
but if we're gonna continue it or table it,
you need to have questions for the applicant that they would have to answer in that meantime.
thank
So-
you. That was my next question. It's
Yes.
like, what are we tabling it for?
Yeah.
What questions do we need answered?
Yes.
Now, just because you don't like it does not. If it fits the criteria in our code,
I'm going to jump here and I'm going to move to approve with the added conditions. I know there's a lot of variables in this one and it's troubling, and I'm troubled too. But, you know, yeah. I don't see where we're gonna win one way or the other on this. I mean, they've met all the conditions, they've done everything they can. And they're within their legal rights to do it, so. I don't see where we have another move here, you know. Go ahead. Richard.
So actually, hang on a sec. I'm gonna accept your motion
Yeah, please.
as,
What that was?
yes,
It
that
was
was
a
a
motion and a comment.
motion to approve with conditions as presented by staff?
Yeah.
Okay,
by
perfect. So we're sitting at number one on the board there. So all we need is a second to get into discussion. Which I can't do.
That's what I tried to do,
No,
You can't vote either, can you?
well, we don't get us, well, we don't get a second.
On the extension of
Oh,
the meeting.
okay.
Okay, I'll second it.
All right, so we got a motion, we got a second. Let's discuss. So what's troubling
but
us?
she's talking.
she-
Confused.
Oh, I just seconded it. I mean, I know that we can't, you know, that we can't, if it's technically meeting the criteria that we can't, vote it down, we can't deny it. It's hard, given some of the concerns about the traffic and the sewer and some of these things that everyone's sick of hearing about, but are very real concerns. It's hard to feel excited and to want to be the one making the motion. But yeah, it just feels like another situation where our hands are tied. And I mean, that's not the applicant's fault at all. And there's nothing wrong with this particular subdivision per se. It's really just some of these other outstanding issues that are kind of always buzzing around. So that's my comment about it.
Thanks for that, Tara. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
My question was, I heard him say that if I'm right, I'm right. If I heard him wrong, then I am wrong. But I heard him say that the type of curb that he had, putting in what we usually get, was gonna steal a foot. And I don't know if it was from each side of the street, or if it was just from one side that we didn't have that 36 foot for parking on both sides.
So if you go. Alan, can you bring up the cross sections? Page 86 of 309 on the, on this particular application.
So Evelyn, yeah, that'd be the local street sections. Oh, do you
If
need
you-
we don't need to go back. I can share screen again. I'll find it. Or wait, do you want to find something that was not in something that was
No,
not? in-
no, I'm looking in the application. So if you go back that page you were just on. That showed all the links to the specific,
The widths of
there you
the
go.
streets.
Do the next one down, the third one, yep. So in there, it shows what the rolled curb looks like. It's not anything that's crazy. And I'm sure we've all seen it elsewhere. I know we're striving for continuity, but at the end of the day, when we adopted the code that included North City residential, mill mixed use, central mixed use, all the fun ones that were not C1 and R1 and R2, we got the product of what we're doing here and making this an allowable use. And so this obviously isn't a single family residential application like we're used to seeing. This is a little out of the norm for Estacada, but it's not out of the norm for or any of the metro area, or I hate referencing Portland, but
I know, it's true, though.
Yeah, Ben, which page were you talking about?
what are we at?
Say 89?
86.
86.
Hopefully it's the same. There you go. The top one there. Just to be clear, is that the right rolled curb we're referencing? So it just doesn't have a square edge on it on the top. And you're 17 feet to the gutter, plus another foot to the curb face.
So you
My-
building your house now?
My question was, what would it take to expand that to, what is it? The minimum is 36 feet. So you got parking on both sides and you're gonna gain.
Yeah.
Rather than having just parking on one side of the street.
Yeah, you're gonna get one car more. You'll get the one car for every two that way.
You'd have twice as much
Yeah.
on-street parking, right?
Yeah, than you do right now, yeah.
Than we do right now. That's what I'm talking. We're talking about inches
Yeah, I
to
know.
get.
But the other thing that's gonna do is it's gonna reduce all those lot sizes by, well,
A foot.
a foot.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if that's something that we can recommend. You're gonna have to help us.
Can request.
We can request that.
Yeah, you're making a recommendation to council, so you could recommend a condition that required that.
Okay. Is that what collectively we're hearing as as one of the hangups and a possible fix to it?
I'll amend my motion to that.
Before we go through the amending process, do we have any other things that we want to discuss so we can just make it clean and do one more?
Okay.
Tara, do you have any other hangups that are specific to this application that are within our purview to?
Nope.
Okay. Anybody else?
I got plenty of questions for them, but we're out of that position right now, so. This takes care of one, I mean, as a recommendation.
I know you brought up open space and parks, the three opens, 1, 2, 3, plus the big one on the west side, that I think is the hillside with the trees. And I,
It's always nice to have green space, but I'm looking for quality of life for kids and their families and pets and whatever else goes along with it. The neighbor's not gonna want a bunch of some thrown across the fence.
yeah,
It's really close to Wade Park, though.
Yep.
Yeah, they're just down the street from Wade Park.
That's about a mile.
okay.
I don't think it's that far.
You go in there without paying.
All right, anything else we need to discuss? So, do we need him to withdraw his motion, or how do we gotta vote that down?
No, we still have a motion on, so we have to vote the motion.
Yeah, one way or the other.
Or you can withdraw it, right? You can withdraw the motion and then,
Well, it's had a second.
Yeah, it's had a second.
oh, it's had a second. Okay, that's right.
So we have to vote, technically vote it down. So all those in favor of the current motion, please raise your right hand.
Now you went down?
All those opposed, please raise your right hand.
I'll vote against my own motion. I can't vote against my own motion, though.
So-
Motion fails.
So the motion fails, so we need a new motion to clean this up.
Okay. New motion. There we go. Let's go back to our motions here. Recommend that we approve this with the presented staff recommendations and the added recommendation of whatever that is.
Of the additional street width
Yeah, the additional street width, yes,
to allow parking on both sides,
yes,
which would be a 36-foot
36.
right away
I believe 36 feet.
36 foot right away.
or 36 paved.
That's plenty dirty, but there you go. I mean,
So 36-foot paved road section.
yes.
Okay, so there's our motion. Now we need that second again.
Second.
All right, we got a motion, we got a second. Any further discussion?
Somebody said something about making sure the council know how we feel on this.
I think they'll get it.
But
This motion does that.
yeah, there was just talking, but I don't know.
Plenty dirty.
Okay, so we'll,
You don't.
all right, let's go ahead and vote on it. All those in favor, please raise your right hand to the current motion. We got 4 here, Tara.
Yep.
All right, 5. All those opposed? All those abstaining?
I don't know.
Okay.
All right,
Motion passes.
all right. So you guys are gonna forward on to the city council on May 13th, is that the right
Yes,
date?
that's right.
Okay,
And we
With-
will include this. And if I have any questions about what this recommended condition is, I can get back
Okay.
perfect.
to you. Yeah, you can ask.
All
questions.
right,
All right.
thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, let's keep moving on here.
Well, the council is the final decision.
So the next one is, I'm bringing it up here, sorry.
Zone change.
I think it's the Regan Hill zone change.
Reagan Hill Development Zone
Oh,
change,
okay,
twenty
just-
twenty-four -01 ZC. Reagan Hill Development, but the lot is, down in town, across Wade Street from Granny's, for lack of a better description.
Yep. Yep, it's about. where it is.
Legal, is 34E, section 20 AD 01300 at 201 Northwest 6th Street or 6th Avenue. So with that, let's go ahead and do a staff report on this.
All right. Yeah, gotta share. There we go. I went to open it and I closed the whole thing instead.
Excuse me. And again, we'll go through the staff report as in the planning commission meeting. And then allow the applicant and engineer to come forward and speak on behalf of the application at that point in time.
All right, here we go. So 2024-01-ZC, the Regan Hill zone change. And the applicant is Steve Mueller. And the consultant is All County Surveyors and Planners. And basically the proposal is a comp plan map and zoning map amendment that would change the zoning of these two properties from R1 low density residential to R2 medium density. The two properties comprise together about just a little over 2 acres. The applicant states the main reason for the zone change is to be able to site a mobile home park. Our code lists a mobile home park as a conditional use in R2. However, we heard from DLCD once I give notice about the zone change application. And due to state law, mobile home park must be allowed outright in a zone that allows for the density of our city's R2 zone. So if this zone change is approved, a mobile home park would be allowed outright in the R2. As far as the other, the second property, the applicant also plans to redevelop with uses permitted in R2 that were not specified. Okay, and here is the subject site. It's just north of 6th Avenue, east of Wade. It's near the high school, Rivermill Elementary, the library, Wade Creek Park, right on the transit lines, and it's really close to downtown, just up the hill. And zooming out, this is the comp plan map, just to give a better idea of where in the city it sits. And then to zoom in, we can see that the property is zone R1 currently. It's surrounded by a mix of other higher density zones. We've got general commercial, that light pink to the west, and then residential commercial, the darker pink to the south. And there's also some R3 scattered around there. That's the orange lots. And this is basically what the comp plan would look like if the zone change is approved. Just to read a little bit from the applicant's narrative, they say that the proposed zone designation would provide a transition between the C1 properties to the west and the R1 properties to the east. Okay, and so the EMC chapter pertaining to zone changes requires the subject site to be presently provided with adequate public sanitary sewer, surface water management, and water facilities and services to support the use, or will be able to support the use in the near future. So as we can see from this water service map, it's readily available from 6th Ave or from the existing line in the northeast there. And same goes for sewer. It's available from a line to the east side of the site and possibly also from the south. Looking to other zone change criteria, it meets the statewide planning goals, specifically goal 10 for housing. It requires local jurisdictions to allocate a sufficient amount of buildable land to satisfy a city's housing needs. This proposed zone change would allow for the expansion of an existing manufactured home park onto one of the lots. And it would also allow a slight increase in density of these tax lots, which supports the aims of that statewide planning goal. It also meets the transportation related criteria in our own code, 16.101, which is, specifically for zone changes. The applicant submitted a trip generation letter, and that analysis found that the proposed zone change from R1 to R2 will not result in significant impacts to the surrounding transportation system. It also meets a criteria in the city code related to the transportation planning rule, the Oregon Highway Plan, and our own chapter on concurrency. It also meets comp plan goals and specifically supports Chapter 8 on housing. And there are 4 policies specifically that are supported. I'll just read those out really quick. So policy one is to encourage a variety of housing types at various price points. Policy two, to provide a wider range of housing choices, such as middle housing and other alternative housing types, such as manufactured homes. Policy seven, to encourage development of manufactured dwellings. Mobile home park would do that. And policy 13, to encourage voluntary upzoning, which is what this is, from, low density to medium density. To encourage this rezoning of low density zone properties when near higher density zones or to services such as transit lines, the library, and downtown. And that applies to this. And so the staff recommendation is to recommend approval of this zone change application. And this would be a recommendation to council.
All right.
And that's what I got.
Any questions for planning staff at this point? Okay. Tara, I just want to check, make sure you don't have any questions.
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, let's do this. Let's go ahead and jump into the public hearing portion of this one then. If the applicant or his representative would like to come up, introduce yourself, give us your address, and give us a little Reader's Digest version or the full version. We don't care either way. What you're thinking. And
Hi, I'm Tracy Brown at 17075 Fur Drive in Sandy, Oregon. And we have Steve Mueller, who's the property owner, Mike Ard, who did the traffic analysis, and Ray Moore with All County Surveyors and Planners. Yeah, I mean, as Alan described, the primary reason that Steve wants to do this is to be able to expand the existing manufactured home park just to the north. And with that, we have kind of a preliminary design. It would basically, the street would come in and just kind of loop around through that northern property. The other property that has frontage on, Northwest 6, he just picked up, and he's not sure what he would like to do at this point, but it would be something in conformance with the zoning district requirements. We did make note of the comments we got, or the city received, from Department of Land Conservation and Development. And I've been a planner about 30 years. I don't know if I've ever had a comment from DLCD which was so positive in the sense of both not only saying they had no problem with the zone change, but saying, by the way, the city code, you can't process it as a conditional use. We were under the impression we would have to go through that process, and we would have done that as a subsequent, application. And so I'm kind of glad we didn't do it concurrently at this point. We thought about it initially, having both the conditional use with the zone change. So I guess with that, we did go through, as Alan mentioned, the various analysis of the various criteria, and it is changing it from the R1 to R2 zoning. And as he showed, it would provide a transition between the commercial zoning to the west and the remaining R1 to the east. So with that, if I can answer any questions.
This is for mobile homes only then, and no stick-built sites?
Well, as I said, there's two tax lots or two properties. Yeah, so you can kind of see it there, the line. So the northern property would definitely be manufactured homes, and it would, that Northwest Carlton Street would come down and loop around through the existing manufactured home park. We're not sure at this point what that southern property would be developed with. It would either be manufactured homes, something that's permitted in that zone. It could be stick-built homes. We're not really sure at this point.
Well, I guess my question was, is the whole thing being reconsidered for a zone change?
Yes, those two properties are, yeah.
Okay, that's the smoking mirror that I said I gotta ask the question.
Sure.
And then, do you have ingress egress that's gonna go across the creek out there by Granny's?
Yeah, that will be determined, but there was an existing home there, and there is a crossing, and so that will likely be the access when that southern property is developed somewhere in that location.
Okay, so it could be a two-way street, not just a 12-foot, one lane, one way at one time.
Most likely it would be a, you know, an in and out kind of situation.
Similar to Broadway or whatever.
It wouldn't be a public street, I doubt. It would be probably a private drive. That would
Okay, so it doesn't
access
have
the
to meet
property.
The public street request, just for ingress and egress, it could be
Right.
only 20 feet or whatever it takes to. make
Yeah,
it.
and like I said, we haven't really fully analyzed how that, how he wants to develop that property. But it would be something like that. And I know the city is interested in having an easement for the creek. And, you know, right now that some of that, there's concrete that's fallen into the creek and stuff like that. So it'd probably be cleaned up a little bit with this, with any development on that property.
I was just looking at that. Would that be just a dead end cul-de-sac down there by the creek and forget putting any kind of a bridge in or access?
No, right now, it's just, that
We're
northern
just-
lot is just,
Yeah, right now, we're just looking at a zone change. and-
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we haven't really, that, you know, engineer hasn't really analyzed. Steve Mueller has asked us to look at a little bit more about the manufactured home park, but we don't really know that much about the southern property and how that would be developed.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I have one question on the setbacks, and just because we haven't ever seen one of these come through. I see that on one of the pages, we have the setbacks listed, and that's just for the main property because there's not individual tax lots. Do the mobile homes themselves have to have setbacks, or?
They're different than, you know, I'm not an expert in mobile home park development, but they are, the street standards, the setbacks are a bit different. They're
Okay.
mandated by state law rather than city code typically.
Gotcha.
I don't know, would you agree with that?
I
Alan?
do, yeah. We looked into this before, and I think when we did the pre-app for this, we were looking at what are the standards, and we didn't find what we were looking for in our code.
Yeah, so there are some state rules that talk about developing manufactured home parks that we would comply with.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions? All right, thank you. Steve, if you'd like to come up, introduce yourself and.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Steve Mueller, 25404 South McQueen Road, Estacade, Oregon. And as you now know, I'm the owner of this property. Then our family also owns Ultramar Mobile Home Park, the Wesson Townhomes, and Wesson Realty. So let me clarify the design on the let's see, which is a tax lot 1700. My intention is not to have Carlton as a open street. We kind of talked to the fire department about putting a fire gate there. So all the ingress and egress would be through the existing roads through Ultramar Park. 9 spaces, and as Alan said, and Tracy said, the park will be built to State of Oregon manufactured home park. And then as far as the piece, 1300 on 6th, I thought if we went to the R2, we'd have the option, we could either have, you know, duplexes or threeplexes with an ADU, or maybe even take a look at this cottage cluster thing, which is a new to me. Might provide some smaller homes at a, you know, better price point, something a little more attractive, a little different. I kind of resisted the idea of to put a big 24 unit box of a multiple unit there. So that's why we're going for R2 rather than R3. So it's a little more density, and it actually gives us a little more choice to deal with the property that fronts on 6th. But at this point, the plan is expand Ultramar into tax lot 1700 with 9 more spaces. And if we can accomplish that with the fire department to keep Carlton just as a fire access, not as a traffic circulation through the park, I kind of felt like people in Carlton don't want that. And I really don't think I would want all that traffic circulation through the park, because parks are private roads. So that, you know, that's the tentative goal and plan.
Okay.
Any other questions I could clarify for you?
Terry, you have any questions?
Nope.
Okay. I think we're good. Thanks, Steve.
All right.
Any other people in the audience want to speak on behalf of the applicant? Go ahead and come to the mic and introduce yourself if you could.
My name's Connie Erickson and I live at 767 Northwest Carlton Street. And I'm not in objection to the mobile home park being expanded or anything like that, but I do have a problem with through traffic on Northwest Carlton Street. It's very narrow. And already we have problems getting in and out of driveways because of the school, people parking on both sides of the road. So that's my only comment is a through street.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that. Alan, from a logistics standpoint, is that something that's done at the city or is it fire department or how does that work? Is
Yeah,
that-
that's interesting because we're not considering the development itself right now. We're just considering a zone change. So I'm not sure like if it would if it's even possible for us to include a condition that would say like there has to be a fire, like a fire closure or whatever those are called. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to.
Does this come back to the planning staff when a actual subdivision, well, it's not even a subdivision application,
It's just zone change, yeah. So it doesn't go to council. I mean,
so who reviews the development of the road and the utilities?
It would be reviewed by staff, the fire department and city engineer.
And so at that point, it's the fire department's choice to either require that
come
or,
back to permitting. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that would be handled at a
Yeah.
different phase.
okay,
So yeah, there's no more land use after this. If they do move ahead with a mobile home park, they would just apply for permits basically. So
okay.
So you gotta just put your zoning hat on. This is just zoning.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Okay. All right, is there anybody else that'd like to speak on behalf or against the application? Okay, let's just go ahead and shut down the public hearing on this one then, and we'll jump back into planning. Alan, if you could you bring up the choices?
absolutely.
And now is this a recommendation to council as well, or is this our outright decision?
This is a recommendation to council.
All right, so this goes to council as well. And I assume it'd probably be May 13th as well?
Yep.
Okay, so we need a motion as presented. Approval but add conditions or a denial with facts. To deny.
Do you want me?
I'll motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we got that motion, we got that hey, just to clarify here, Tara, do you want a motion to approve with staff recommended?
Yeah, as number
As
one.
presented by staff, okay.
Yeah,
There are no conditions attached to this. It would just be, we just recommend approval outright.
All right, so that
Yeah.
sounds good. I just wanted to make sure we were clear.
You know, it goes to staff. He's saying.
No, it goes to city council on May 13th.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, just
Okay, does anyone make you,
No, we're good. So
that's my job.
we got a motion, we got a second?
Yeah.
Any further discussion on the planning?
Oh, for planning? No, nope, we're good.
Any from the commission? Comments? Okay, let's vote. All in favor, raise your right hand.
yes.
All right, motion passes unanimously.
there you go.
Moving on to the next one here.
Thanks, guys.
Subdivision 2024-01-S, Current Creek Estates, number 4, application Scott Clayton, proposing 25 lot residential subdivision. Go ahead and take it away, Alan.
All right, calling it up. Right.
Yeah.
Where's the 6 acres at?
Anna Lawrence.
Where?
Anna Lawrence.
Oh. Would have been helpful if they just showed that on here.
It's
It's on there.
What's this piece here?
Okay.
So that,
When we
that
get-
road
when we
extension,
get it
you'll see it on the map.
Lay it out for you, how that looks, you know.
All right, Alan, go ahead.
All right, last but not least, 2024-01-S, Kern Creek Phase 4. The applicant is Scott Clayton
Number 2.
from Gresham, and our consultant again is All County Surveyors and Planners.
Flip it over.
Right.
And I'm gonna hold off while everyone gets oriented to where this is.
Okay. All right, we're good to go now.
We're good? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and the proposal is a residential subdivision, 25 single-family detached lots. It's about 6.25 acre site, 2 properties, and it is zoned R1. And here's an aerial shot of the site, just to kind of orient you guys.
Here you go. It's up on the screen. guys.
Yeah, if you guys want to just, look at the screen.
No.
So there we go. Yeah, outlined in yellow. You can see to the west is Valley View Airport runway, a few hundred feet away. And to the south, we have Kern Creek Phase 2, and then to the north, it's that kind of east-west section of Southeast Lawrence Road. And here is our comp plan map, another view of it. You can see the areas predominantly R1, so low density residential. It's also very near the eastern edge of the urban growth boundary. And again, you can see that purple is Valley View Airport. And it's surrounded by county properties to the north and west. So it's also right on the border or the current border of the of city limits. Okay, here's just a view of the layout of the 25 lots. All of the lots are at least 7,500 square feet, which is the minimum lot requirement in R1. There are 3 new internal streets proposed, plus a continuation of Northeast Mary Terrace on the south. And then there's a stormwater tract, that's tract A at the northwest corner there. Okay, here's a picture of the water system. All lots will be provided with city water service, and the system will be extended to the edges of the subject site. So originally the applicant proposed an 8-inch water line in Southeast Lawrence. But city engineer recommends the installation of a 12-inch water line to provide for future continuation of the high service system. And here's the proposed sewer plan. Because of the grade of the subject site, applicant proposed to terminate sewer lines at the northern lots on Northeast Cedar Ridge and Northeast Wiley Lane as shown on top. So you can see that the sewer lines are just held back just a bit. However, Kurt, our city engineer, he has recommended that the lines be extended to Lawrence Road at minimum slopes in order to achieve sufficient depth. So he believes that those can be extended and recommends that they do. And here's a stormwater plan. So the on-site stormwater would be routed to the facility there in the northwest. That's tract A. And here is the cross section for the interior streets. So the new interior streets will be constructed to the standards shown here. These are basically, they conform to local standards for either old TSP, which is what was in effect when this application was submitted. So it's a 32-foot paved section, 5-foot raised curb tight sidewalks within 45-foot right of way. And on-street parking shall be allowed on only one side of these streets. And here are the standards for Lawrence Road. The segment of Lawrence that fronts the subject site will be constructed to these half-street improvement standards. So that's basically, you can imagine you're looking west, the development would be off to the left, so to the south. And that basically includes a 16-foot paved section of pavement, 5-foot sidewalks, and 5-foot planter strips, or strip, I should say. And so the staff recommendations, staff finds that this proposal to subdivide these two tax lots to create 25 residential lots can meet all applicable approval criteria, and we recommend approval of this application. And a quick rundown of the general conditions. So public improvements provided, streets and sidewalks built to city standards, stormwater will be managed, water and sewer service extended north and east of the site, and construction impacts mitigated, and the fire code will be met. And that's all I have.
First question I have for you.
Sure.
As we're talking about Lawrence Road here, Lawrence Road goes from a double track, two-lane, basically gravel road to a one-lane gravel road somewhere in the subdevelopment. I'm not exactly sure where it hits here. I think it's somewhere around Wiley, where Wiley Road is proposed here. We're gonna have at one point just a one-lane paved section of road with gravel between that and Lawrence Road where it makes that left-hand turn up there.
Or the right-hand turn?
No, it's a left-hand turn. Would you go?
Oh, you
yeah,
mean from
it's a left-hand
coming,
turn.
coming north, left?
Yeah,
Or-
it-
Right,
as
gotcha,
you-
okay.
Yeah, as you see it, Lawrence Road goes and it goes down and it turns down and it's still
Yes,
double
okay.
lane gravel road for a distance there. And then all of a sudden it turns into a single lane gravel road. From a two-lane gravel road to a single lane gravel road in there. And that won't be improved because the other half is still Clackamas County, I take it.
The other half would be
Clackamas County,
that's
and
right,
there's
yeah.
no. There's no development beyond that part. We're just gonna have one little section of a one-lane road. Of a paved, beautifully done, I'm sure, but. But you know, it's kind of odd there because you're gonna have this big, long section of gravel, and then you're gonna have this little short section that's all done up nice, but single lane. And you're putting people onto that, you know. Because of the egress of this thing, how people would get out of there. And I'm going,
I have a question to that.
yeah.
Well, real quick, was there a question that you had, or you
Well,
just wanted
I'm
to?
formulating, I'm sorry.
Okay, no, it's
I'm
okay, it's okay.
formulating here. I'm trying to think, is there anything in the code, let's go there first
Yeah,
off,
yeah.
that requires or would aid us in not requiring, letting people have egress to that road, the Lawrence Road, on that single track section from this property?
If I understand your question, you're asking
Yeah.
if they would be allowed to access Lawrence Road? There are two access points. Are you,
There's two access points now. If
Yes.
that whole access is single track road down there, right? From Wiley Lane to that. But you've got gravel and then nicely paved section there for the thing, and then right back to a single track gravel road again.
Mhm.
You know. Can you, until Clackamas County comes up and develops that road fully? Can we deny egress to Lawrence Road from that point?
oh, can we deny it?
Can we deny?
Oh, I thought you were asking if we could allow it.
No,
Okay.
well, I'm sure we can allow it, but would
Yes,
it be
yeah,
intelligent to allow it?
Well, I think they'll get into the same thing that is on Cedar Ridge 2 or 1 or whatever the other one is that actually accesses Lawrence, the one lane paved, that there was a gate there. But
Yeah,
I think the city council said, no, you need to open the gate.
oh, is that right?
I believe it was the city council. And I'm getting some nods in the crowd.
I'm just
because-
the question, yeah.
Common sense, I think, is gonna be, yeah, if I drive a car, I'm gonna probably go out on the paved road.
Sure, but you're gonna go paved road to gravel road section.
No, paved road through all the nice paved roads that lead you down to Cemetery or out Current Creek or
Oh,
whatever.
well, go the opposite direction. Yeah, I get that part, but you know, people being people, they're gonna,
Yes.
they may want to, well, let's just go around that, you know, because I can get directly to my house, you know. And
I mean, I suppose we can make a recommendation, but I don't know the city council stance on it currently, but it was open that up because insert answer here. I don't know what that answer is.
yeah, I don't know what it is either. That's why I questioned it, because again, you know, I'm just thinking about, you know, when do we make that right? And that's a Clackamas County question, not a question we have, but
You both bring up a great question, and I think I know what the answer is gonna be, but I've not seen it come in front of me personally.
Okay.
And that is, our urban growth boundary is in the center of the road currently as is
On the north-south Lawrence.
on the north-south of
Yeah.
Lawrence.
The city
It's
limits
not
is on the,
bordering this, yeah, it doesn't border this
once it
development.
turns the corner, the urban goes down and keeps going
So
straight.
we're not responsible for what the county does, and they're not responsible for keeping it up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cause that's, yeah, well,
Did I say that right?
no, yeah, city limits
Yeah.
is, yeah, it's right down the middle of that road
I
too.
don't write very often. but-
Yeah. We're only responsible for half of it.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's just like the application before on
Yeah,
Killendon that
Yeah,
yeah,
you're doing with the county and they're,
so
Yeah.
we're at our north or eastern border of our UGB. And it isn't likely to improve any, because we don't have any water surface above that.
yeah.
well, and it
Okay.
goes into DLCD and all that other stuff.
The other, thing, this has a retention pond on its own property
Sure.
before it goes into whatever
Mhm.
Sewer system.
downhill.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's fine.
thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
No. That's all I have.
You guys want to go into the public hearing?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's go to the public hearing. Let's go ahead and have the applicant and or engineers come on up. Another familiar face here. Round two.
I'm Tracy Brown, planning consultant. This is Ray Moore, All County Engineers, and we also have Mike Ard, who wrote the traffic study, and the applicant is here as well. So yeah, I guess as Alan talked about, we're in agreement with the conditions, recommended conditions, except I'll have Ray talk about one of the recommended conditions. You can see as in our design, we could bring that up. Yeah, that'd be good. We paid particular attention to the comments we got with phase 3. There was a lot of discussion about access onto Lawrence Road, and I know there's a lot of concern about that. And so as you see here, none of the lots have direct access onto Lawrence Road. We made sure of that in this application. Other than that, I mean, it's a pretty standard application, it's just an extension of essentially phase 2, which is directly to the south, and phase 3 is to the east of phase 2. The property to the east of this is not part of the development, and when that property develops, there's a single family home on it, that corner of Lawrence Road would be improved at that time. So I guess with that, I just encourage you to approve it, and I'll turn it over to Ray Moore.
Yeah, for the record, Ray Moore, All County Surveyors, PO Box 955 Sandy. Yeah, we went through all the conditions of approval, and we worked with Kurt a lot on, going through engineering. The only issue that I sort of had was condition of approval 33, and it's just the last sentence. It says sewer line shall be extended north to Lawrence Road at a minimum slopes. Well, on Cedar Ridge, that'd be the most westerly north-south street. If I try to extend the sewer all the way to the north, I'd maybe be a foot below grade. So there's not enough elevation to get that one to be extended all the way. There is enough on the other street. So I think if we just added 2 words at the end of that last sentence that says, if possible, we're fine with extending it, but I can't, magically make the existing sewer deeper. So that would just give us a little flexibility when we go to final design. So that's all I have, unless you all have some questions.
Hey, you guys got any questions?
Does
Derek?
that-
Oh, go ahead.
Does that deny anybody future down the road from hooking up, or they gotta put a pump in to make it work?
Well, it all depends on where you're looking, how far north. There's other avenues to get sewer, to the treatment plant as you go further north.
So that
Lawrence.
present sewer line would not reach your property line then?
The one on Cedar Ridge could not go all the way to the north, but the other one can. So it's all based on topography. So there's a lot of the ground to the north that could be sewered through the other sewer line.
Agreed.
And then as you go north from Lawrence, there's other avenues to get sewer, dropping down through Cascadia Ridge Development or Faraday Hills, excuse me.
Thank you.
So,
Ray, on the, Kurt's recommendation to go, what was it, 12-inch water line? And then are you hooking up to an 8 in the last Cedar Ridge development?
Yeah, the existing in there, Mary Terrace is an 8-inch main.
Is there any engineer no-nos on that? I mean, I know normally you want to try to keep lines the same size and
Was he recommending 12-inch through the development?
I think he was recommending 12 through
No,
the
no,
development.
just under Lawrence.
Just in,
Yeah,
yeah,
Lawrence.
that's what I understood. So just in Lawrence.
Oh,
It's-
okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so
Yeah, yeah.
I think the idea is, the city installed the 12-inch line in Lawrence. So, he probably has a master plan where that's gonna extend up Lawrence and then turn west. And so that 12-inch will fit in with his overall master plan. So no engineering problems at all.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that.
Not an
I
issue.
didn't catch that part.
So, thank you. I didn't catch that either. So an 8-inch would still carry all the fire department's, hubs and fountains and whatever.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we used to do 6. Shoot, I've done 4, but 8 is plenty.
Okay,
Especially with the pressures we have now with the improvements, the city's been making and the new reservoir that's coming on someday.
Where is the reservoir?
The future one is over near Lucky Lane.
Lucky Lane. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. All right, thank you.
all right, any other questions? All right, thank you, gentlemen.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else want to come up and speak on behalf of the application? Anybody want to come up and speak against the application? Evelyn, do we have anybody online that's flashing at us? Doesn't look like it. Okay, without any further conversation, let's go ahead and shut down the public hearing and we'll enter back into the planning commission. Alan, if you could bring up our normal 3 options. Oh, looks like we might have 4 on this one. Oh, no, 3. So we recommend council approval. We can add some additional conditions or denial with findings to justify that. So we need a motion, we need a second.
Who's up?
And I can't make a motion,
Okay,
otherwise I would.
let's move to approve. Recommend council approval with conditions as presented by staff and the change that the gentleman wanted in the language. I think, we can accommodate that engineering standard, so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we second that.
That's perfect. We got a motion, we got a second. Any further discussion?
Does this have any hardship for parking anywhere on it?
No, they're big lots.
I saw that. Thank you. And I trust this is not an HOA.
Mhm.
I don't have an opinion.
Let's keep our public opinions to or personal opinions to ourselves. All right, without any further discussion, let's vote. Unless I need further discussion.
Not really.
Okay, all those in favor, please raise your right hand or say aye.
No.
Tara,
Yep,
is that a yes?
yeah.
Okay, perfect. Passes 6-0. Thank you. You guys will be at the city council on the 13th as well. Okay, moving on to the last thing. Looks like we got public comment, which we have none, I assume. Commission comments. I'm gonna keep that short because I gotta go to a baseball practice.
Okay.
And then adjournment. Do we have any other meetings on the docket? Alan?
Yes, May 15th.
Oh, yes, okay.
May 15th.
I will not be able to be there.
Okay. Thank you for the heads up on that, Tara.
I'm on Addison, May 15th.
Ooh, I think it's just one application now. It's just it's a partition.
Okay,
That's it.
with that, let's adjourn.
No, there you go.
Thank you.